everyone. You're very welcome here to our second Come Farm With Me webinar as part of a 6-part series with Agri Aware. Today we're going to be watching a video from Michael McGuigan's farm, who kindly opened up his gates to us so that we can have a look at what happens on his beef enterprise in County Meath. As tradition with all of our webinars and all of our Come Farm With Me ones in particular, we do our shout outs for schools. So if any school wants to get their name in and maybe their class, we'll give a quick shout out. So we have a couple coming in there now. Hello from Middle Room in Brusky National School, County Calving. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Well, we've nearly half the school from School Moyne Glynn, St. Mullins and Carlow. We've second, third and fourth class there. We have St. Patrick's in Blackline. We have 6th class Sacred Heart in Rossgrey. We have 4th class from St. Tola's in Delvin. I remember St. Tola's joining in previously, so welcome to everyone there again. We have Miss McBride's 6th class in St. Joseph's. We have St. Mary's in Roscommon. We've Cloneen National School. We've junior infants to 2nd class, so we've, I think, nearly half the school again in Cloneen. And again, just in our previous webinar, I mentioned the fact that we, our executive director, Marcus O'Halloran, is from Cloneen. So if anyone knows Marcus, make sure to say hello to him when you see him in the shop or on the road. We have St. Finniard's in Clonard. Hello to everyone there. We've 4th class in Monalvey. Very good. We have Kildorrery National School in Cork with 3rd class there. We have senior room in Camcloon National School in County Roscommon. We have a couple of schools from Donegal. There's a few of you after requesting a shout out there. So hello to everyone in Donegal. Hello to everyone in Waterford and in Wexford. We have a few schools from Dublin, which is excellent. In Galway, Clare, Kilkenny, Longford, in Tipperary again. So we've a great spread of schools from across the country tuning in here this morning, which is fantastic to see. So I'm going to encourage you all to get a piece of pen, or a piece of paper I should say, and a pen, or maybe a crayon or a marker or something anyways, to make sure you write down any questions you may have. Michael will be joining us after the video to answer all of your questions. So if you have any questions for him, make sure that you have them at hand and ready to go so that your teacher can put them in the question and answer box. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and hopefully this video plays well and that we have no issues.
My name is Michael McGuigan, farming here in County Meath, beef farmer, sucklers. Delighted to be part of the Agri Aware Come Farm With Me. Looking forward to showing you around the farm, what we're doing, what we're producing each year, and feel free to ask any questions. The suckler cows behind me here, and the suckler cows have been weaned in September, so they're now what we call dry cows. So we just need to maintain them at the moment. You can see the paddocks well grazed down. They do not need too much grass. You do want them, if they were getting too much grass at the moment, they become too fat, and that gives you plenty of problems at calving time. So it's to maintain their condition that they're in now, from now until they start calving in the middle of January. You can see the collars in the cows. It's a heat sense and health monitoring collar. My wife, or lots of other people, call them Fitbits. They do a very similar thing. They're telling me the health of the animal, when the animal's eating, when the animal is ruminating, which means she's lying down digesting her food, and when she's in heat. We need these suckler cows to have 1 calf per year, every year. And if she's not doing that production, then she's not profitable and can't stay on the farm. So it's quite small margins, so you have to be very accurate with it. So the collars tell me when the cow's in heat and when is the best time to serve that cow. So we're bringing in weanlings today. These are the calves that were born in springtime. They've now been taken away from their mothers. We're bringing them in to weigh them to see how they're performing, and we're giving them a vaccination which helps them not get any respiratory diseases. We keep these weanlings, there's bullocks and heifers in here. The bulls are squeezed at 4 or 5 months of age and they become bullocks, so they can't reproduce. So we've got bullocks and heifers mixed. These heifers will be put in calf and brought into the herd for next year. We keep them over the first winter out. We don't have a shed for them for the winter, and they'll go out to grass in February time next year, and most of them will stay on the farm until about September, October time, and the heifers stay and come back into the herd, as I said. Okay, so we try and double up jobs as you bring the animals in, so you're bringing them in less times in the year, so you're not causing any stress. And you try to do it in a calm environment. You don't want any stress in the animal, that does affect them. So we're bringing them in today to vaccinate them and to weigh them. So it's important that you have good handling facilities. These animals, although they're only not even 10 months old, they are very strong. They're 400 kilos. You would never hold one of them, so you need good facilities, a headlock that you can restrain the animal, that you're safe to do any work with them, and a good holding crush for weighing the animals so you get an accurate weight. Weighing is important for several reasons. One, it gives you an indication of health. It also gives you an indication if you're having the right farming practices by giving them the right amount of grass and moving them onto the paddock at the right time and feeding them the right diet at different times of the year. They're getting a kilo a meal at the moment because the grass is wet with low dry matter and is coming to the end of the growing season, so that just keeps their daily live weight gain going. What we're looking for is an average daily live weight gain of 1.1 to 1.2 kilos per day. So the weanlings that we brought in, we're giving them a vaccination. So it's called an IBR vaccination, which is to prevent them from getting any respiratory diseases that they find it difficult to breed. So it prevents that. And for the female animals, the heifers, we give them what's called a leptospirosis vaccination, which when they go in calf next year, it stops them from aborting. So you have to store the vaccines in the fridge. So what I do then is we record what we've purchased on a herd watch app. I record everything on it, the births of the calves, the weights of the cattle when we weigh them, what bull we used with the cows, and compliance. So this is our winter accommodation for the suckler cows, a slatted tank, and there's rubber mats on the slats. This increases the comfort for the cow. I find it really helps keep a nice condition on the cow because they're lying down more, they're ruminating more, digesting their food, and they're not cold. So they tend to lie down more, which keeps that condition on them. I've been down here many a time and seen every single animal lying down. Cows feed at this side. This is when all the cows are calved. The calves lie in here on a bedded straw bed. This gate allows the calf to go in and out and stops the cow going in. This allows the calf to go and get good comfort to sleep, but come in and spend time with the mother and suck. And it's easy closed if you wanted to keep the calves away from the cows. Drinking troughs in all pens and good ventilation, which is probably the most crucial point. Okay, so although they're dirty today, these are calving pens. These will be power washed and disinfected with a detergent called Kenocox to stop any spread of any disease which can lie in a building from the previous years. So this will be bedded with thick bed of straw, and this is a cow space for calving. This is a calving gate, which is essential if you needed to get in to handle the animal or help the calf to suck or do any treatment. A cow, and a freshly calved cow, is one of the most dangerous animals on the farm, probably the most dangerous at calving time. So the animal has to be restrained. The cow puts her head in here. It's not set up at the moment, but this pulls back to keep the cow restrained there. And this gate comes around and ties to that barrier. So you then can work if you have to get a calf to suck, and you're safe from the cow. Sometimes you might need to do a cesarean, which is a rare thing, but that allows the vet to get in there and operate if need be. So safety at calving time is essential, and a cow should be restrained if you're getting in to do any work in here, because you just can't turn your back on a cow or trust them. Calving time is a vital time of year, and them first few hours in a calf's life is absolutely crucial. So we try and intervene as little as possible to leave the cow to it. Most of the time she will calve naturally herself. The calf will get up itself and start sucking itself. About 10% of the time you might have to intervene, maybe helping the cow calf or maybe helping the calf to suck. But that calf, we keep an eye on all cows with cameras, so we don't try and go into the shed when they're calving. We make sure that calf is up and standing and sucking by itself within 2 hours. If it's not, we will come and help the calf to suck, because the colostrum in them first 4 hours is crucial, but even 2 hours even more important. So that calf needs 2 litres of colostrum, which is the first milk produced by a freshly calved cow, with strong and antibodies to let the calf's stomach develop and develop its own antibodies to stop any disease setting in. So this is a plate meter, and I measure grass here every 5 days in the growing season, April to August. Outwit that is once a week. That allows me to see how much grass I have ahead of me for the cattle, and going into the paddocks at the right time. Cattle go into paddocks for 2 days and then they move on to the next paddock, and that's giving them that leafy grass, which is the best grass to get daily live weight gain. If they get into grass paddocks that's too strong, it really affects the daily live weight gain and the performance of your cattle, and therefore the performance of your financial year. So measuring grass is crucial. It then allows me, if I have too much grass ahead, to take paddocks out, surplus paddocks, and cut for silage to have it for the winter. And it's been more efficient with my grass. It allows me then to see what paddocks are growing, how much grass. I can then adapt my fertilizer figures to that. Sometimes we don't need to be spreading as much fertilizer as we are spreading, so I am getting that information from measuring the grass to see where I need to spread and how much I need to spread. So we're trying to cut down on nitrogen application all the time. This is a crop of forage rape. It's sown in the middle of August, and it's ready for grazing, strip grazing with the weanlings throughout the winter months, and it'll be ready 1st of November. We might even leave it till the middle of November if grazing conditions allow to stay on the grass. We move the strip wire maybe twice a day, give them a metre at a time, so they're utilising the crop and the leaves as much as possible. There's bale silage up through the centre, so we move the ring feeders every couple of days, and that gives them a good daily live weight gain through the winter months. So this is the tractor I use. I've only got the one tractor. It's a 60-acre farm. It's a 100 horsepower tractor with a loader, which is sufficient for all the jobs I want to do. We do most of the work on the farm ourselves with this tractor. The only jobs we don't do is spread slurry and bale silage. Everything else we do ourselves. Full reseeding, fertilizer, spraying, cutting the silage, turning it to dry it out a wee bit, and then all the feeding through the winter. We feed bale silage, as you can see. We make 2 types of silage. We make silage that have lesser quality to maintain cows during the winter season before they calve. If you were to give them top quality silage, they'd get too fat, which would give us calving problems. So we aim to make a 66-67% DMD silage for cows, and then for growing animals like the weanlings, we're aiming to make 73 or 74% DMD silage. That really helps the animal grow through them winter months, and it also allows us to cut down on the amount of meal that animal's receiving. So with a 73 or 74% silage, we're feeding about 1 kilo of meal through the winter months. Cows receive no meal at all. I'm looking forward to virtually meeting you, and feel free to ask any questions during that meeting.
So we've just had a fantastic video there from Michael on his farm. So I'd like to invite Michael McGuigan to turn on his camera and his mic. Hello, Michael. How are things?
I'm very good, Robert. Yourself?
Oh, all is good. All is good. It's a stark difference in the weather since we were out with you doing the video.
Absolutely. It's a lot colder today.
Yeah, a lot colder. So I'm sure everyone is delighted to be inside in the classroom and getting to sit down and watch something on the screen rather than outside or being asked to do different things. Um,
Absolutely.
so, Michael, we are after having a range of questions here, but if you wanted to introduce yourself and maybe make a point or two.
Absolutely. First of all, Michael McGuigan is my name. I'm farming in Longwood in County Meath. And thank you very much to Robert and Agri for inviting me on. It was great doing the video and it came out absolutely fantastic there and came across well. Um, so listen, beef farming is very important as well as profit. We also have to improve the environment. So that's the focus and will be the focus for many years ahead. So looking forward to all the questions that we're going to get
Super
today.
stuff, super stuff. You won a very special class that you
I
needed to
have.
refer to.
Yeah, I couldn't come on here and not give a huge shout out to all the fifth and sixth class of Baconstown School in County Meath. I know all the sixth class pretty well. My daughter's in that class, and they're a great bunch. And I hope they're behaving for Mrs. Flynn today and asking good questions.
Very good, very good. So we'll get straight into the questions here. Um, we have a range of questions coming from Miss Nestor's class. So, um, how many sucklers do you have, and why did you pick beef farming?
Um, so it's a 60-acre farm and I run my business. So to go into dairy farming, it was maybe a wee bit small for dairy farming and I'd have to commit full time and therefore I couldn't have run the business. So for me, beef farming, because it takes up a wee bit less time and beef sucklers in particular, because I've got a great interest in breeding and genetics and using artificial insemination, I can get to choose different bulls with the cows and match them up. So it's a system that suited me and lifestyle and work. And that's very important for farmers to make their farm suit their working life and their and to suit them. So that system suited me.
Very good, very good. Another question from the same class. Do you have more heifers or bullocks?
Unfortunately, more bullocks. I would like more heifers, and then I could be very picky and choosy as to which heifers I use as replacements to come back into the herd, because it's really about getting the genetics of your cows up. The better them genetics are, the better your animal performance is. So for the last 3 years in a row, I've had more bullocks, like 19 bullocks to 10 heifers, and I really would love it the other way around. So maybe this year will be the other way around, or next year coming calving.
We live in hope. We live in hope.
Yeah.
A question from Maeve in Newtown School. So why is there a pink mark on the bales?
I thought someone would ask that question. That's a good question. Basically, that tells me I just do it for my own interest to see what paddocks the silage come off so I can really figure out what makes the best quality silage. So it's just to let me know what field it came out of.
Very good. We have a question here from Sophie in fourth class in Drumlease. What would happen if the cows didn't get their injections?
Yeah, that's really good question because it's very important. So, the leptospirosis is a disease that comes into cows that can cause them to abort. So, if a cow aborts, which means to lose the calf, then that cow hasn't produced a calf for that year. So, it's really important to give the vaccines. And there's three vaccines we give to the cows throughout the year that they don't abort. Number one, another vaccine we give, Rotavac, which stops the calf getting scar. So when the calf is in the first 2 weeks of life, if it gets scar, it can really set it back. And in some instances, it can kill the calf. So it makes the animal stronger to fight any diseases coming in. So if they don't get it, they're more susceptible and quite prone to get it.
Very good, very good. We have a question here from Cooper in third class in Manalvi, so not that far away, only a few
No.
villages over. How many people work on your farm?
So I have one part-time guy who comes in a couple of mornings a week to help me out because I've got to go and sort of spend time in the business. And you sort of need that. And I've got a young lad across the road who comes on a Saturday. And you need that bit of help because sometimes there's two-person jobs. And then other times I need maybe to go away for a holiday or a long weekend or something. So one man comes in a couple of mornings a week, and then Connor across the road, he comes in on a Saturday.
Very good, very good. A question here from Miss McCarthy's in St. Columkill. So when do the cows go on to grass?
Yeah. Interesting. So we try and get them out as early as possible. And the last couple of springs, early in spring, has been very kind to us. So this year we had them out on the 27th of January, and the wheelings were out on the 20th of January. And you're really aiming, grass is your cheapest form of feed for cattle, so it's your most efficient and it's your best. So the earlier you get them out, the better. And the trick of it is to get them out early, but that grass needs to be growing again for when you come back around to graze that paddock in early April. So if you go out too soon and you can run out of grass, you got to time it well. So as early as possible, and then cattle are still out at the moment with me. They're going to come in today because there's a lot of rain coming at the weekend, and that it's not so much looking after the animal being outside. They're well used to being outside in bad weather. Is to protect the paddocks. So they'll be coming in today, and that's probably it for the winter. So as long as possible at grass is the name of the game.
It's been a strange year where we kind of we lost a few months at the start of the year where people might have usually expected to see animals out grazing in February, maybe March, and that was pushed out to maybe late April in an awful lot of places
It
this
was.
year. So
Yeah,
we're
we
we're
actually we actually had to put cattle back into the shed because they were out day and night in February, and then they had to come back in at the end of February and March. So it was very tricky conditions.
Yeah, and again the opposite side of that, we're still seeing animals left outside at the minute because it's been so mild now. Granted, the last couple of days have thrown a sharpness in the air, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's been exceptionally mild the last month or 6 weeks.
it's been super.
So we have another few questions. Well, we've more than a few questions, but we've a couple of questions here that I'm looking at. So the middle room in St. Patrick's in Blackline would like to know: do you sell at the factory or the mart?
Yeah, I do both actually. And the last few years with online bidding, it's very successful to go to the mart. There's no bullying going on around the ring and dealers wanting certain cattle and stopping other people buying cattle, so anyone can bid. So I do both. If an animal's ready with the right fat score for the factory, they go to the factory. And if they're not and they need a bit more feeding and it's coming to the end of the grazing season with me, I sell them in the mart.
Very good, very good. And we have a few questions come in from Miss Dempsey, and I hope that answer there has just answered one of them. But Dylan wants to know what's your heaviest cow, and I think we've answered Gary's question. But Tommy and Killian then want to know what type of cows do you have?
Okay. So again, great questions. The heaviest cow I have is 860 kilos, and normally I wouldn't keep a cow that heavy because a cow that big is eating more. The average weight in the herd is 670 kilos. So a cow at 840 or 860 kilos is eating more than the average cow in the herd. So they eat more and they produce more methane, which is a dangerous gas and a damaging gas in our environment. So, and normally they don't rear a really good calf because the weight difference in the calf and the cow is not where it should be. But this cow in particular rears a spectacular calf, so that's why I keep it. But the ideal weight is probably 680 kilos. And the type of cow I go for is a continental type. And what we mean by that is the beef breeds. So Limousin, Simmental, and Charolais. And it's actually a cross between those. Hybrid vigor means crossing a Simmental cow with a Limousin cow or a Charolais cow. And that gives good growth rates. Hybrid vigor, they call it. So I crisscross with those beef breeds because I'm producing a beef animal and I want that animal to grow as quickly as possible. So 1.2 or 1.3 kilos a day. So that's why I've chosen them three breeds.
Very good, very good. We've two questions here that go hand in hand. So junior room from Inver National School want to know why are the cows wearing collars, but then from second class in St. Joseph's in Leitrim Village, they want to know how has technology helped you on the farm to make your jobs easier?
Okay, so they wear the collars to tell me when the cow is in heat. And as I was saying in the video, we need to, so when a cow's in heat, she's ready to be served by the bull or artificial insemination. So she produces a calf 9 months later. So we need that cow to go back and calf. So the collar tells me when is the optimum time to serve that cow with a bull. We're all AI here, so an AI man has to come in and use a straw. So it tells me the exact time, so it increases my chances of getting that cow back in calf. So the collars help that. If I didn't have the collars, it takes a lot of monitoring to see which cow is in heat and what is the right time to serve her. So the collars allow me to go away and do work and business, and I get a text and I get a reading on the phone as to when is the perfect time to bring that cow in to serve her. So it's saving me a lot of time, and it's giving me real accurate data to make my system work better. So time saving and better accuracy.
Very good, very good. And I suppose maybe what other pieces of technology have you utilized in the farm, or maybe plan to utilize just to help that class get a better feeling for what's available maybe for a beef farmer?
Yeah, so the weighing scales is a brilliant one, and it's a simple technology, but it allows me to monitor how the animals are performing, and I do it every month. So I'm seeing every month how they're performing. So if there's something wrong with what I'm doing, that's going to show me in performance. So that's one. Other technologies on the tractor, we use a GPS, which tells me where I've gone with fertilizer and when I've put the fertilizer on at the headlands. So it's saved me about 10% in fertilizer cost a year because it's telling me it's been more accurate where I'm putting the fertilizer. Sometimes when you're coming to the top of the field and you're turning it off, you might be overlapping where you've spread before. So that's another great technology. I also have moo call, which goes on the cow's tail, and it gives me a text to tell me when that cow is having high activity, and she's going to calve about 2 hours after that first text. So again, it allows me to go to bed, check the cameras. Cameras are another great technology, just to check the cameras, see how the cows are doing at calving time. And the moo call tells me, predicts when that cow is going to calve. So I can keep an eye, either get up and go down to the shed, but we try and not go to the shed and let her do it herself. So them technologies are great, time saving and profitability for the farm, getting the cow back in calf, and then life and death. Because if you're not watching a cow calving, as I said, 10% will give you a wee bit of a problem. You can lose a calf very easy at birth, and that then cow has produced a calf but has died at the last sort of stage at birthing, and she's been in calf for 9 months. So it's quite a loss to the farm, and that cow probably has to go then. So them technologies save money, save lives of calves, and time.
Very good, very good. We've a few questions now about you, and maybe there's a couple of farmers in the classrooms asking these questions. One of which being, how much land do you have? And the other one being, how long have you been farming?
Okay, so I have 60 acres. I would love 660 acres, but it costs a lot of money to buy land. I had to buy my farm. I wasn't in line to inherit one. So 60 acres, and I'm only farming 7 years. I was in Edinburgh before that, living. My dream was always to have my own farm. So I worked hard and built a business to make the money to buy this farm. So yeah, only 7 years.
Very good, very good. Ellie May from Newtown School wants to know, what time does your working day start?
Well, I like the early mornings. I'm an early riser. I'll be up at 5:15, 5:30. That you don't have to get up at that time for beef farming. I get up and I do office work and then farm work and then back to the office. But that's just me. I love work. I love being outside in the farm, so I get up early. But you don't have to on a big farm.
Very good. Someone wants to know what machinery you have around the farm.
So we do, or I do everything myself apart from bale silage. So we'll do the reseeding ourselves, which is a rotavator. We've got a sprayer to burn off the grass first. Then we go in with the rotavator. Then we go in with the land leveler. And then we go in and spread fertilizer. And then we've got a seeder to sow the grass seeds. So we do all them jobs ourselves. We've got a mower for cutting the silage. We then have a turner for turning the silage to help wilt it. A loader on the tractor, which is essential when you're feeding bale silage. And I think that is it. I would love to have a baler, but a 60-acre farm doesn't quite justify spending 105,000 on a brand new baler. But I would love to have a baler.
It's amazing when you walk into a yard and you don't understand the value of machinery sitting in front of you.
Oh, it's frightening. Frightening. So we get a contractor for that, and actually a contractor for spreading slurry.
Very good. That was another question that was asked about slurry. Um, so here's a strange one, and maybe you may or may not know this, but how many kilos of beef do you sell per year? So I'd say that's probably more pertinent if you were finishing animals, but even if you wanted to estimate the live weight of all the animals you sell in a year.
Yes. So again, very good question. That's obviously coming from a farming background, I would say. We're selling about 19,000 kilograms of beef off the farm per year. And that is, we bring our cattle to 20, 22 months of age and sell them either to the factory or the mart. And we keep heifers. So we're keeping about 6 heifers a year to come into the herd. But then, so you're selling 6 less 18 or 20-month-old cattle, but then you have to take 6 cows out of the herd. So we're selling about 27 or 28 a year, and they're about 670 to 680 kilos.
Very good. We've just had a question from Miss Smith Lynch. Can you explain silage to a town school?
Yes. So, people that are learning about farming want to know the difference between hay and silage. So both come from a grass crop. And when you cut that grass crop, and if you want to make silage, then you're going to bale it or put it into a pit and seal it 24 hours later, maybe 48 hours later, depending on how wet it was. And that makes silage. Hay is where you cut the grass and you leave it for a week and let it really dry out, and then you bale it and it doesn't need wrapped. So the silage wrapping the silage just preserves the grass and turns it into silage because of the sugars in it.
Very good. Very good. Um, we have a few strange questions coming in, but I suppose
Okay.
here's one you might be able to answer. What happens when they eat too much grass?
Well, the only time they can't really eat too much grass, but what they can eat is maybe too much clover. And clover is a type of grass in the grass. And if they eat too much clover, it's called bloat, which is where their stomach expands full of gas. And it is dangerous and it can kill an animal. So a big feed of clover, and they love the taste of clover, and they might go in, if they went into a field full of clover and they were hungry, they might gorge on the clover, which would give them bloat, which could kill them. It's very dangerous, so you have to be very careful about that. As in leafy grass, it's very unlikely they would overfeed on that because their tummies get full and they lie down and digest it. But it's the gas produced in the clover is dangerous.
Very good, very good. Another local school not that far away, and we've fourth class in Boardsmill want to know what's the busiest time of the year on the farm?
Springtime. So at springtime, you've got lots of things going on. You've got cows calving. You've got cattle ready to go out to grass because the days are getting longer and the conditions are good. And you've got fertilizer to go out. And if you didn't get any maintenance done through the winter on fencing and different things, you find sometimes you have to do it before they're going out. So springtime is always the busiest time on a farm.
Very good, very good. Um, well, we're still getting loads more questions in here now. So, why do vaccines have to be kept in the fridge, and do cows get sick often?
Um, so vaccines have to be kept in the fridge. They just need to be at that temperature or else they start to go off. It's a bit like milk. If you didn't put milk in the fridge, it would start to go off. A vaccine would do the same and it's not effective then. So that's why you keep it in the fridge. It has to be sort of kept at about 4 degrees. And do cows get sick often? Well, touch wood, no. It can happen, of course. But if you're using vaccines, we kind of work on a system here in the farm. Prevention is better than cure. So we're trying to stop any disease coming in so that we don't have to deal with the disease that comes in, because it's far more efficient and it's far more cost effective to vaccines for all the things you could get, or cows could get, as opposed to the cow getting it and then having to call the vet or maybe losing an animal. But they do get sick. But if you're using the right vaccines, it is quite rare.
Very good. We have a question here from third class in Kilworth. What's your favourite job to do on the farm?
Oh, God, I love farming. I like so many aspects of it. I like the different seasons and working at different times of year. I love cutting silage. It's a nice time of year and it's a nice job to be at. I love calving cows. You're bringing in new life to the farm and you're seeing the outcome of the bulls you used 9 months previous. So that's very satisfying. And they're probably the two most satisfying, especially calving cows. To see the calves go out in springtime and running around the field with their tails up is a great sight and it warms your heart.
I suppose leading on from that, Anya from actually in Boards Mill wants to know what. Oh no, sorry, hang on now. I mixed up my questions. We have a question from Terry Glass Junior Room. What job do you find the hardest to do?
That's a good question now. The hardest to do. Um, I suppose, you know what, when you reseed a field and you have to pick a load of stones, that's nobody loves that job. My daughter hates that job, but it has to be done. So that's a hard job to do. Um, yeah, that's one of the hardest jobs, picking stones. Nobody likes picking stones.
No, I think anyone that has a childhood on a farm knows all about picking
Yeah,
stones.
they're dragged into it.
Yeah. A question from third and fourth class in Ula National School. How many bales of silage would you get off your farm in a year?
Yeah, probably about 380 to 400 is what we target each year, and that gives us a surplus of maybe 10 or 15% through the winter in case we have a long winter, which we had last year. So about 400 bales.
Very good. Um, from Liam in Drimna, would you consider having other animals on your farm?
At the moment, Liam, no. I'm very happy with the beef enterprise I've got. I've got so much more to improve with the enterprise. We're always trying to tweak things and be more efficient with the cows. So at the moment, no. I did have sheep when I first came. Sheep are very interesting, but you really need sheep fencing and the right handling facilities. But really, beef is what my real interest is in. So at the moment, no.
Very good. A couple of questions then about sheds and facilities. How many sheds do you have, and are some of them for tractors?
Yes. So I have 5 sheds. One shed is called the machinery shed, and I put in all the machinery because it really protects it over the winter and it helps to stop breakdowns because it keeps them in good conditions and it helps me get longer life out of those machines. So machinery sheds important if you can put them indoors, it's going to really extend their life. So yeah, machinery shed, suckler shed, an isolation pen if you did have a sick animal or if calving gets very busy, it's an overflow from the calving pens, and then a hay shed and straw shed, and a wee workshop in the corner of the machinery shed.
Very good. Um, then a question here, I think it's from Miss Cahlin's class. On average, how long do you spend on the farm each week?
About 20 hours a week, maybe 25.
Very good.
Probably longer than I should.
Well, I suppose when you're what's the phrase they use? Find a job you love and you'll never go to work a day in your life.
Yeah, you'll never work a day in your life. Yeah, so listen, I do love it. And yeah, so 20, 25 hours a week. Some weeks are busier.
Yeah, very good. And where does your beef go to? It's another question.
Yeah, so I'm lucky here. My Valley Meats, which is only 4 miles away from us, goes there. They have contracts with Tesco and Dunn's. So it'll end up in Tesco's or Dunn's, most of their beef.
Very good. I suppose anyone that was tuning into our previous webinar with Paul Brophy, the broccoli producer, he puts an awful lot of his broccoli into Dunn stores, so you can get a full dinner from all of the farmers participating here.
Brilliant.
Go into Dunn stores, and there's Michael's beef on the fridge shelf, and we've Paul's broccoli down in the fruit and veg aisle. So they're getting a good understanding of where the dinners are coming from.
Excellent. That's what we want.
And we have another few questions here. We've had a number of questions actually come from local schools, Mulhussey, Manalvi. Longwood actually. And do you have a dairy herd also?
No, I suppose I should. I didn't know if Longwood were tuning in, and I know a lot of those guys as well. So a big shout out to Longwood School. Um, no, I don't have dairy herd as well. It is something I would consider, but not at the moment. Not to have beef and dairy, one or the other, but I would love to milk cows. It's a great way to farm.
Very good, very good. We'll take two more questions then, and we'll wrap it up. Um, what is your favorite tractor? So they might have missed it, the tractor in the shed, but albeit it might not be your favorite tractor.
Yeah, you get asked that question a lot. Look, if I look, the tractor for any farm is the tractor that that farm can afford and that is reliable and doesn't let you down. So it doesn't really matter if it's green or red or blue. But my favorite would be a John Deere.
Very good, very good. And then, which machine do you like working with the most?
I'd probably say mowing silage is a lovely job, because normally lovely great weather and it's lovely seeing the lush grass growing and it's the first cut of the year and it's May time and the country looks brilliant. And then reseeding, I like sowing grass seed because you can see exactly where you're going up and down the field and you're leaving a lovely seed bed behind you and it looks very neat and tidy. So those two jobs are probably my favorite.
That's fantastic. Well, we've had some great questions there over the last 20 minutes or half an hour. And a big thank you to you, Michael, for opening up your gates to us in Agri and for coming on board here today and answering everyone's questions. I'm
No
sure
problem.
people have gotten a great insight now. And as I said, we're building a picture around the dinner inside the food store and where all the food actually comes from. So it's great that students are actually able to make that link and not in any way endorsing Dunn stores, but just seems to be that all of our farmers seem to be supplying Dunn stores, which is great too because it's an Irish owned company, it's an Irish supermarket. So it's great.
Absolutely.
It's great to see that. So a big thank you once again, and a thank you to all the teachers who have joined in. Just a note: if you missed any of today's webinar, or you'd like to look back on it, we will be sending out the YouTube link again. It will be available to anyone who's registered. So if anyone has any other queries, don't be afraid to get in contact with us. And a big thank you again to everyone involved.
Thank you very much. Good to meet you all.
Super. Thanks a million, Michael. Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye bye. Bye bye.